Hey boys and girls, Doug Giles here. It's Warriors, Rich,
and Wildmen. What's happening, Doug? That was an extra excited one there.
Yeah, it was. I'm feeling frisky today.
Yeah.
And that kind of sounds weird saying that to another guy.
Yeah,
but
we should.
anyway.
Let's start over. Let's do that one again. When you said it, I was like,
let's keep it, man, because people love it. Right. And I'll get a nickname. People start calling me Frisky or something.
Yeah, keep rolling. People hear how we really are.
Yeah.
It's
So
weird.
Last podcast we tried to get into what Mario Murillo wrote on September 14th, 2021, where he wrote a blog to the pastor saying, "You're now a wartime pastor." And I guarantee most pastors out there is like, well, I don't want to be a wartime pastor. And God's like,
they're too squishy.
God's like, you don't have choice, sissy man. This is what it is. So Dr. Hotze told me the other day, and I won't give away the church, but he said, you know Hotze, he's like, Doug, he said, we got a bunch of pussy pastors out there. He said, we need a tribe of Proverbs 28, verse 1, bold as lion Christians, bold as lion pastors. Yep. Like, I agree, man. I wrote the book on it.
Yeah, stop yelling at me. I'm on your side.
He's like, let me tell you something. And just completely wound up. I told this big blogger the other day, who will remain nameless, and he knows Dr. Hotze. He had him on his TV show and stuff. He said, what do you think about Dr. Steve Hotze? I said, I wish I could bottle the energy that 70-plus-year-old man is and maybe just give a droplet to like some 20-year-olds. Because that guy has energy like I've never seen anybody have. And he's got an opinion. And
but
God
he's
help
passionate,
you,
man. He's awesome.
Right. Yeah, so anyway, he said that, he said, Doug, he said churches should stop building buildings. And what they should do is build expansive gardens. And they should buy up all kinds of ammunition and machine guns. And instead of taking that, back 40 acres and going to do a $37 million children's wing, Rich, for their ministry, he said, you ought to clear that land and put some cattle in there so you can slaughter them when the supply chain really gets crunched. Have you seen the ships in L.A. and in Portland?
Yep.
Just stacking up like Japanese on a train at 7 a.m. in the morning. And also in Alaska right now, Rich, one of my buddies said that they can't get toilet paper, or it's severely limited how much toilet paper and paper towels they can get because, again, Alaska is just beholden to LA port and the Portland port.
Jeez.
And so it's not business as usual, folks. And, that $37 million thing that you're going to build for the children, you might want to punt on that to see what the next few months are going to bring. Because like Mario said, Pastor, we're in a war. We were birthed in a war to begin with. It's been going on since the Garden of Eden. But Mario brings up, what should a wartime pastor be doing right now? And check this out, Rich. He said a wartime pastor will face the fact that our nation's being led by evildoers.
Come on.
The same villains who led the disastrous exit from Afghanistan are in control of the pandemic and the nation, and they despise America. So, Rich, what does a pastor do on Sunday morning, Richard, when he gets up?
I think Mario should take it a step farther. I mean, if you're going to bring it all the way. What he should say is, our country is led by evildoers, and the other side of the aisle, it's condoned by quiet, evil allowers. The Republicans don't do anything except talk. They're like, let's see who speaks out against this. It's like, whoa, you said something. Nobody cares. They don't do anything. So in my mind, all of these people, now there might be one or two, right?
Right.
That are good people. They're all garbage. Our country has become so corrupt. Our leaders are so corrupt, so self-interested in their own finances and staying in power that I believe that most of them will do anything they have to do to stay in power. And that's Republicans and Democrats. Now, their platforms are completely opposed, but the Republicans won't stop the Democrats from doing something evil if it means they can sit there and be quiet and still get kickbacks.
Hell yeah. And that's why they got rid of Trump, man.
That's right. And because Trump's an outsider.
Yeah.
But our country was designed like that. It wasn't designed to have professional politicians. It was designed to have people like, not like us maybe, but just people
term
to
limits,
represent.
Term limits.
No, but we don't do that. No, we have these old professionals in there that sit there and bitch about everything, and they're ripping us off blind. And then we're sitting here going, we're cheering for this team. It's like none of them are cheering for us, right? So understand that our government is evil and corrupt. And Joe Biden's lost. Whoever's controlling him is literally, and I'm saying this, I'm not even kidding, is demon possessed. The group of people that's controlling him are full of demons. And if you support them as a Christian, you're deceived and you're blind.
Not only that, but not only that, Rich, not only if you support them, but if you don't say, jack squat, while this thing is being hijacked, from its original, biblical roots and moorings, then you're not the pastor who's focusing on the gospel. And again, like you and I said in the last podcast, man, the gospel is the main message. The church is his eternal purpose. Okay? Now, with all that said, there's other things that affect us that Paul said that you ought to labor and augur for those things that create peace.
Right.
Now, the stuff that they're injecting into the American mix has shit all to do with peace. And then you've got pastors who won't say anything. It's like, well, we don't want to be divisive. It's like, it's
already divisive, man. You crazy ignorant old bat.
Yeah, well, they're not all old.
Or young.
There's some young ones
with your skinny jeans, and your fat gut hanging over your skinny jeans. That's stupid.
So in the meantime, man, you've got parents who are doing the whole D. Snyder Twisted Sister. We're not going to take it.
Yep.
So they go into their school and it's like, what's this book in the library about anal sex doing around my 12-year-old daughter? Right. And then all of a sudden, what did you say that white people are born oppressors, and you've been teaching that to little Timmy, who's freaking 6 years old? You know what? Keep your bullshit, your old crazy racial, race-baiting politics out of my classroom. We're going to fight for this. And again, the wartime pastor is like, ooh.
Yes.
Ooh. Churches should do sermons. Here's the difference between the gospel and critical race theory.
Right.
Okay?
Yes.
Instead of just ignore it,
here's
that's
what the Bible
not going
says.
on.
Here's what these idiots are saying. Was it a mayor that went into the school board meeting and started reading from the books that they were using for sex ed for primary school students and said that he wanted all of their resignations or they would be tried and prosecuted for child pornography? Did you see that?
No, I missed it, man.
He literally went in there and said, this is what you're giving to children. These are the laws on child pornography. I will receive all of your resignations right now, or each one of you will be charged with child pornography. And I was like, well, that makes perfect sense. This other stuff is lunacy. Here's another thing. I don't want you talking to my kids, my children, about gay sex because I don't want you talking to them about sex at all. They're children. Let them be children. Shut the hell up. You talk to my kids about sex, you're going to be talking to your dentist about what's best for you, implants or crowns. Like, it don't even make any sense.
Yeah, I think if they tangled with you, it'd probably be implants. I don't think there'd be enough of the tooth, to put a crown around or something.
I saw my brother hit a guy in the face with a champagne bottle one time, and it didn't break. It made a really weird sound. It was like, bink. It was pretty gross, but it was before. Yeah, I guarantee before we were pastors.
I guarantee the teeth and the lips gave way.
Yeah.
So anyway, you got you got parents doing it. The parents are looking at these schools being hijacked by these frickin' radical sex freaks, and they're trying to push it on the kids, or they're telling them it's like, your race sucks, and we need to segregate again, and you need to pay reparations ad infinitum, ad nauseum, because you are a evil white child. Well, and the parents are saying, you know what? I'm running for school board. I'm not taking this crap anymore. Show up at your county commissioner meeting, city council meeting. And Rich, to me, when everybody's like, oh God, look at the gloomy path is going down. It's like, you know what? We're seeing Davids, we're seeing Deborahs, we're seeing Yaels just show up out of the woodwork. And they're just manifesting because they're being called online to God to speak, at such a time as this. And a lot of them, when you hear them go into their righteous diatribe about whatever these soulless, godless, antichrist people are trying to sell to our little children, they nearly all the time tie it right back to the scripture. So I love that kind of manifestation. I love seeing that kind of stuff because, again, like we were talking about in the previous podcast, in peacetime, you're not going to see them. In wartime, you're going to see, the prophets and the prophetess show up, and I dig it,
Yeah, that's awesome, man. It's totally true. People need to show up and blow up. I mean, rhetorically. But what I told my church recently, I said, there's a difference between white supremacy and white majority. White supremacy means white people think they're better than you. White majority means there's more white people. So the fact that there's more white teachers is because there's more white people. It's not white supremacy keeping black people out from being teachers. It's black people are 12% of the population in our country. So that's a white majority. That's not anybody trying to stop you. It's like, why don't I see as many black people on commercials? Because there's not as many. So in Africa, if you go to an African country that's mainly black, if you go to one that's mainly black, are you going to go there and say, well, this is black supremacy? Well, that doesn't even make any sense. Well, it's the same here, right? And so I talked about that, and people were trying to figure it out. They're a little bit upset about it. But did you know this year there's a corner, a defensive cornerback in the NFL that's white, and he's the first white corner in 8 years in the NFL.
No, I don't watch the NFL.
Well, check this out. That's not racism. It's just capitalism.
Right.
If you can win the job, we'll give you the job and the money. Why isn't anybody crying about that? Now, that would be, under that same argument, that would definitely be racism. So what I want is the NFL to represent the numbers of our population percentages. So I want 68% of white people in NFL. So basically I want to watch Pop Warner or high school football because it's not real. They're not the best. So who cares? Right. Like this whole thing of the population matters, the majority matters, but nobody, if you think you're better than another race because of your race, well, then you're a racist.
That's why I'm, when all the steroid stuff came out in Major League Baseball with Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa and Barry Bonds, everybody's like, with Lance Armstrong, the Tour de France, everybody's like, we've got to stop that. It's like, why? It's freaking awesome to watch somebody hit 100 home runs. I think we ought to have a steroid league. So it's like all the people that don't want to juice, like, okay, do your little non-juicy football stuff. But these guys know what they're getting into and how it'll shrink their wedding tackle, and yet they still want to do it and have this homunculus league where you've got these knuckle-dragging monsters. Frickin' bring on the freak show. I don't care.
Right.
I mean, that's why I dip into the View every now and then, because I just want to see some freaks.
You want to see, and they are freaks on there.
Have their head turned 360 degrees, spewing green vomit, screeching like a frickin' two cats that are mating. That's sometimes enjoyable, but I can't take a lot of it. But
well, it's funny on here because he talks about critical race theory, transgenderism, and abortion. Those are not issues that have to be debated. You just explain it, end of story, move on, next page. That's not even a sermon, bro. That's not even a sermon. That's a comment.
Yeah. No, and the issue of homosexuality and homosexual marriage. And I had this girl and her husband, they said the other day that they're getting wrapped around the axle by their family, being completely against them because they're for, marriage between a biological man and a biological woman. And they said, Doug, is there anywhere in the scripture, because they have some uncle or somebody like that is, Jesus never addressed, in regards to marriage, that it couldn't be a homosexual union. Jesus was always about love. And I was like, whoa. This is, like you said, this is the easiest freaking thing to solve. Go with me to Matthew 19. So the Pharisees are trying to trap Jesus, just like those dipsticks are always doing, following him around, trying to get him to trip up. Jesus knows, what the score is with those clowns. And they're talking about divorce, and Jesus is going into, what he said divorce is only righteous to do, versus the addendums that they put onto the law of Moses
Right.
in regards to what they wanted to do, because they had a loosey-goosey view of marriage.
Right.
And then Jesus said, what does it say, from the beginning? That God created man and woman, and he joined those in marriage, and what God hath joined together, let no man put asunder.
Boom.
I said, so read that real slow. Man, woman, biological. And he said, that's what God puts together, and don't let anybody mess with what God had put together.
Right. And see, that's where we're losing the battle, is that the school systems and social media and the media are telling our children that anyone who doesn't believe in love is a hater.
Right.
So our own children are thinking, why are you so full of hate if two people love each other? So they're being led with emotion, they're twisting what love is, and then they're giving it back to them, and then our own children are coming back and saying those things to me.
Right.
Or not to me, but to us in general. My kids are grown, but that's what's happening. And so we need to fight that and say, hey, what they're telling you in school is wrong, and your school teacher is a stupid idiot. Like they're a stupid idiot.
Rich, since I'm frisky now, let's talk about the whole aspect of, if you disagree with the leftists and their feckless, foundationalist, anti-Christian worldview, that you're not walking in love. It says in 1 Corinthians 13, love chapter, read at every wedding. Love is patient, love is kind, love doesn't brag, doesn't boast, doesn't like hot butter on its breakfast toast.
Rock it out, baby Bubba.
What else? Doesn't seek its own.
Yep.
It's like, well, yeah, that sounds all flowery and all loving. And it also says, and love does not rejoice in unrighteousness.
That's right.
But rejoices in this thing called the truth.
The truth.
Hello. So when everybody starts spewing,
another version even says doesn't rejoice in evil. Right. This just straight calls it evil.
So again, you look at what Paul wrote, for what that's worth, being inspired by the Holy Spirit to, the smarmy love people. He elucidates, the biblical aspect of love, and everybody stops. I think it's around verse 5, and they don't move on to verse 6, where it says, it does not rejoice in unrighteousness. Yep. Okay, so who defines unrighteousness? Well, the scripture, from my point of view, makes it pretty clear what unrighteousness is.
Yep.
Jesus made it very clear in the gospel. And again, going back to Matthew 19, if God joins together a man and a woman, and he says, don't let anybody try to sow any kind of different union. Don't ever let anybody try to put asunder, not just that one particular couple,
right,
but the institution of marriage itself. He calls that unrighteous. Paul calls homosexuality, adultery, premarital sex, he calls that unrighteous. So somebody who loves somebody doesn't say, to hell with it, who cares, I love you. It's like, yeah, I do love you, but I'm not rejoicing in unrighteousness.
Right.
You're not going to get me on your team when you're doing that kind of stuff. And Rich, I wouldn't want them on my team if I'm hard-heartedly pursuing some kind of unrighteous bullshit in my life. I want you to rebuke me.
That's right.
Just like it says in Leviticus 19, it says, you shall surely not hate your brother. And everybody's like, yes, we shall surely not hate our brother. But Moses said, but you shall certainly rebuke him, lest you incur some kind of greater thing upon him. So hatred is, you're not going to rebuke them.
Yeah, you're letting them continue in some foolishness that's destroying their lives.
So you got...
No, go ahead, sorry.
And then you got, you bounce over to, I think it's Romans 12, around verse 11. I don't know. But he said, let your love be without hypocrisy. And Rich, I'm like, that is so beautiful. And then Paul says, he finishes that thought, which abhor what is evil, and cling to what is good.
Yeah, that's really, really good. And check this out. This goes with that. See, the institution of marriage was given by God. He created it. It was his idea. He came up with it. He instituted it. It was on. He gave the parameters. He broke it down. You know why that's important? Because we didn't make it up, so we don't get to change it. An old pastor of mine, he's already in heaven, but he used to say, God instituted marriage, and every culture in the entire world does it. No one tries to improve on it. Nobody's tried to make it something different. It's why, if marriage is for the believers and you don't believe in God, why even get married? There's no purpose. But people do, because it's God's covenant. He designed it, right? If he designs it, he gets to make the rules. If we design it, we can agree to change it. We didn't design it. So if you don't want to sign up for what God instituted, stop calling it marriage, because you're perverting something that he created. Go make up your own thing.
Right.
Like,
I asked Ted Nugent.
I talked to a guy from Canada and I said, yeah, we're about to vote in gay marriage when it was happening in the U.S. He goes, we've had that for years. Don't worry about it. And I said, well, I'm not worried about it. I'm mad about it. He goes, why? He said, you know what? If homosexuals want marriage, it's the worst thing ever. Let them have it.
Yeah, every divorce lawyer is like, yeah, get married. Go ahead,
right.
do it.
It makes no sense.
Yeah, I had Nugent on my show when I had the talk show in Miami, and I said I was just throwing things at Ted real fast and just see what he would come up with, off the top of his Ted head. It's like, Ted, gay marriage, what do you think? He goes, 3 things. Number 1, don't call it marriage. Number 2, don't expect me to pay for it. Number 3, it can only be between 2 good-looking lesbians.
That's why Ted's crazy. Hey, listen, we'll go to the next one. A wartime pastor organizes people immediately. Now, I've preached this. This is my whole world, is you have to have cell groups or small groups. You have to organize your people where it's not centered around a building, where it's centered around the community, and it has to be organized. It can't be like, now it's just blown apart, because then the people will wander around like sheep without a shepherd. It has to be organized. It has to be intentional. It has to be something that you create, that you train your people in. When we had to close our church for 2 or 3 weeks because so many people did have COVID, we had cell groups in the homes for all the people who weren't sick. No problems. There was 0 problems. None.
Right.
Not any. You know why? Because we do that every week. If you think you're going to figure it out when it happens, it's like when you're playing Little League Baseball and the coach says, okay, he's hitting infield in practice. He says, okay, you got a runner on first and third, 1 out. Think about what you're going to do if the ball gets hit to you. And you think about it, and then he hits it to you, and you either do the right or wrong thing, and he trains you, and every practice you do that. And then you learn when you get in the game, you're like, okay, it's 1 out. There's a guy on first and third. Here's what I'm going to do if they hit the ball to me, because I'm prepared for this. I have thought about this. I have practiced this. And then too many people are thinking, oh, when it happens, I'll figure it out. No, you won't. No, you won't.
So I would check the runner at third and throw to second base for the double play. So
if you can get the double play, you don't even have to check the guy at third. Let it rip.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Because I forgot the 1 out thing. Hey, and that's again.
But I like
a lot of
the
people are
aggressiveness
thinking
of the double play.
Absolutely, and that baseball is my sport, big dog. But like you said, those who failed to plan to fail.
Yep.
And people are thinking, Rich. It's like, well, if it does occur again. First of all, I don't think it's a if. I think it's just a when, Bubba. So anyway, if it does occur again, we'll just go back to Facebook and Zoom. Do you know what was so? Do you know what was so interesting, man?
Nice.
Something that was so interesting when Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp all went down this week. Our internet completely shut down
Ours
for
too.
Nearly a full day, and just the panic. Oh my God, what do we do? I think Biden, in his draconian measures, I think he's going to enact, and remember I said this, I think he's going to do a China-like shutdown of the internet, because that's where we're communicating a lot. I mean, aside from the bars and the churches, which he's going to go and try to shut them too, because those
he already did that.
Fonts. Yeah, but it's going to
COVID will take your liquor license.
Right.
It's like,
yeah, exactly.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So, yeah, I think, like you said, you've got to have the small groups in place. You got to have them humming.
Yep.
You cannot rely upon freaking Zoom meetings. Again, that's a Chinese app, folks.
Yep.
And yeah, and so it's wartime, Rich.
Well, you know our friend Mood? Remember we had Mood on the podcast? Awesome guy.
Right.
He did a video, and he's a world finance guy. That's what he does. And so he was talking about how they have he was talking about how in their office they have a feed that brings the headlines of every single newspaper organization, news organization all around the entire world, because finances are obviously affected by everything in the news, right? So that's one of the things they do. He said at 12:46 Eastern time, Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram all went down at the same time. He said they are not on the same server. Facebook acquired those companies. They're still on the same servers they were. They are not on the same server. He said, here's something interesting. Watch this. And he has this app, and he's showing all of the communication companies that went down across the United States and the world at 12:46. Bank of America websites went down 12:46. Other banks, all the communications apps, all the different things were being shut down at 12:46. He said, and he said, and here's an interesting thing on the headlines. The Pentagon was investigating the shutdown. That's war, bro. That's what we're talking about right here. He said, I believe that it could be an outside attack from Russia or China. And I believe that maybe the United States government is testing what the people will do, trying to find out the alternate means of communication. He didn't have answers. He was just saying, look at these very interesting things. Well, if you don't have cell groups or life groups or home groups, small groups in your church, when that stuff happens, you're screwed. If you don't have a system in place, you're not going to figure it out when that all shuts down. What are you going to do for money? If the bank's offline, you can't get any money and the bank's closed. Do you have any money? Do you have anything prepared? I mean, you don't got to go save some huge stash of cash, but do you have some cash to get you by? People don't. Right. We don't think about those things because we don't want to think about those things.
Yeah. What if PayPal says, you know what? We're not going to, we're going to hold on to this because we don't know if you're really a charitable organization or a church, and you're going to have to send us your EIN or whatever number, to reprove once again. So in the meantime, in between time, we're going to hold on to this $38,000 that you've got.
Yep. No, that's right. They're doing that. And then that's some of the other points. Maybe we should call this one a wrap and maybe finish up a third one and go into it on the next podcast. What do you think?
I think that's a good idea. What do they need to do right now, Rich? What do they need to do?
Immediately, unless you're driving or operating heavy equipment or flying an airplane, go to warriorsandwildmen.com, subscribe. We'll shoot you a couple emails a week, keep you posted about what's going on. You can listen to us wherever you listen to podcasts or watch us on video. But still subscribe anyway, because sometimes we are in Facebook jail or we're deplatformed, and you'll still be able to stay in contact with us, see what's going on. And if you want to help us push this message out there, hit the war chest. It's tax deductible. We'll send you the information on that. And for those that are giving and helping us out with that, we really appreciate you guys. Warriors and Wild Men, out.